All right, so the Fed and the president aren't getting along right now. They don't see eye to eye on what should happen with interest rates and the economy. Let me explain what's happening, what it means for interest rates, and if there's anything you can do about it. Let me explain what's happening, what it means for interest rates, and if there's anything you can do about it. If you want to jump straight to the interest rate portion, I'll do a second video on that. If you want to understand why this is happening and what's going on, listen to this one. So, the Federal Reserve and the president have two very different outlooks on what their goals are, right? The Fed chairman, he is looking at the long-term health. And when I say long-term, I'm talking 10, 20, 30 years of the US economy. The president has a much shorter outlook. And because of this, presidents and Fed chairs have always disagreed on what to do. And for a president, they're always looking to the next election, whether that's the midterm or the next presidential election cycle. So they have a much shorter outlook on what they want to happen with the economy, where the Fed chairman has a longer one. What's that mean? Well, it's sort of like steering a cruise ship where you make these slow, steady corrections over time compared to driving a speedboat that can maneuver very quickly. President wants to maneuver very quickly. They always do. It's not just this president, it's every president. Where the Fed chair has this long, slow approach to steadily steering the economy over decades. They've always disagreed because of this. This is nothing new. So, yesterday, the Fed declined to change interest rates. The president was hoping for a reduction. Quite frankly, he's hoping for a huge reduction in interest rates. But that didn't happen. So, what does this mean going forward? Well, as far as mortgages go, interest rates are way lower, maybe 2 percentage points lower almost than they were a couple years ago. So if you bought a house in the last 2 years, now might be the time to refinance. And here's why. Because the interest rates might not change much over the next year, depending on what happens with unemployment and the economy. So when the Fed's looking at their data, they look at how's the economy doing, what's happening with inflation, and what are the unemployment rates. They want a modest amount of unemployment. Well, why do they want that? Because they still need companies to be able to hire new employees. So if nobody's out looking for jobs, companies can't grow. So they want a modest amount of unemployment, so much so that it doesn't hurt average people, that people can still find a job when they're unemployed and move on to a new career. The Fed also wants a slow, steady inflation rate, something around 2%. They'd be happy if it was in the high ones. When it starts getting up into the high twos, they get nervous. They don't want to do too much with interest rates. So they look at all this data plus the health of the economy, and they try to steer this giant ship slowly through time. They didn't change rates. They might not change rates next meeting. They might not change rates the following meeting. That means if you've been sitting on the fence waiting for rates to fall, and they've fallen significantly at this point, but you're still holding out hope that they're going to continue to go down, it might be the time to buy. Or it might be time to pull the trigger and refinance if your rates right now are in the sevens. Because if your rates are in the sevens, we're seeing refinances in the very low sixes, even high fives. Depending on if you want to pay points, you can even get lower than that. It depends on loan program and credit score, a lot of things. I'm happy to take a look at that and see what we can save you. So if you're on the fence and you don't know what the fight between the president and the Fed means to you, I hope this video helped. If it didn't, feel free to reach out to me. My name's Tom Kalagher. My company's Fairhope Mortgage. Reach out, give me a call. All my info's in my bio. I'm happy to go over it with you. Talk to you later.